This is the Ethereum 1 month overview reading for the month of October 2023. It's currently August 12th, 2023, 3:46 p.m. Eastern Time. Ethereum at the time of this reading is currently $1,846.86. That's USD. The overall theme and behavior for Ethereum in October, there's an important resistance level that's highlighted on at least a 1 month type of scale, but this is probably on a larger scale than just a 1 month because we've got a very similar card here. This corresponds pretty strongly to the truce card here at the beginning of October, an important resistance level on a multi-day scale or on a year-to-date kind of scale. And there's also usually like flat behavior when you have the truce card as the theme. It's crossed with sideways rotation, a period of sideways rotation with the Queen of Discs, and in that period of sideways rotation there's a sharp drop that will stand out. So very sidewaysy kind of energies, which is what I've seen actually for quite a few crypto, it looks like, for the month of October, is sidewaysy mixed energy. Behavior around the highest high, we have price swings. Usually the Dominion card shows bullish price swings, but they're not always bullish. Usually they are, but they're just price swings, to be clear. And when you see the Dominion card in the high significator position, usually what that indicates is that there's more than one high. Like we see the high more than once in the midst of some price swinging. Behavior around the low, sideways rotation along key support, and a sharp drop there to take us to the low. It'll also be where we revisit a support level that was recently a past opportunity on a multi-day scale. So I'm pretty sure the lows, like we see the low here on the 11th, 12th, and then even more so we see it around the 16th, 17th, maybe the 19th, but probably the 16th, 17th, and then also here on the 11th. Highs as well, looks like there's a couple places where we might see a high, but the strongest likelihood of a high is here at the end of the month. There's a cross-reading congruency overlapping a high correlator congruency. What I mean by cross-reading congruency is the high significator card for the cluster of October in the 1 year for 2023 is the Emperor card. The Emperor card appears here. It also correlates to the high correlator for the 1 month of October. So there's a cross-reading congruency there. Pretty solid indication. This is also kind of a toppy energy here, the Princess of Wands, sometimes a toppy energy. Before we go any further, let's take a look and see how we're doing in August. So sideways rotation in August, sideways rotation along support, kind of like back and forth behavior. That's what the prudence card is talking about in the case of a theme, is sideways rotation. It's crossed with a near overbought peak that we sell off from, an important price level at the low for the month. So on the first we had our highest high. That was pretty solid. No lowest low there, but that's probably a midpoint as a result. And I think probably the lows at the end of the month down here around the 21st. It's a better way to look at it. And then, all right, so we had this peak or crest on the 8th. We have a peak or crest here on the 8th. It ends up being on the 7th. So, 7th, 8th, actually. It's right there at the 7th, 8th. So we got that pretty nailed. And thus far here on the 10th, we go into like a decline. So a trough there. Not a lowest low per se. We also had on the 6th, we had an important trough that would stand out, and we see here on the 6th there's an important trough that stands out. So there was a trade. If you were subscribed to the paid version of Ethereum for August, there was a trade here that we indicated. The instructions were basically here in the midst of a rally on the first to a highest high. One could open up a short position there in the midst of a significant move higher on a 1-day chart, as well as on a multi-day chart. And then the high there on the first on a local chart or would be like a crest that we sell off from down to and through support, do a U-shaped reversal on a one-day chart, come back and reuse it as support. So what we're looking to do in the midst of that move higher, open a short position, and if we saw that drop from a peak or crest down to through support, then it would be an indication that we missed the opportunity. But opening it there on the first and then closing it here on the sixth at a prominent trough would have yielded quite a nice profit. There's a little bit of a rally at the beginning of the day on the first where you would have opened up that position, and then if you held it until the 6th, you would have been holding it all the way down here. So that's like 1874 to 1806. Pretty solid trade right there. So far so good. It's looking really solid, guys. When we look at the 1 year, so we had this highest high at the end of April, cusp of May. And then another one here, I have it for July, and then another highest high in August, which we haven't seen thus far. But the month is still young. This is looking pretty solid too. So an important trough here in March, double X's, opportunity in a decline at the very beginning or almost at the cusp there. Of the year to open up long and then go there to the upside. This was a good reading thus far. And the Ethereum 1 year was done back on October 26, 2022 at 10:47 p.m. Eastern time. In any case, guys, let's get into the remainder of October for the day-by-day chart behavior. On the first, we have the establishment of support with a sideways rotation and then a big move higher, standing out on a multi-day scale, followed by sideways rotation at a higher price level, taking us into the second, where there's a peak at the end of the day and we sell off pretty notably down through creating multiple new resistance on the way down. Sideways rotation on the third. Out of that decline, sideways rotation on the third. Sideways fluctuating rally on the third after the decline from the second. That sideways fluctuating rally on the third takes us to a peak around the cusp of the third, fourth, and then there's like a U-shaped dip that forms on the fourth near the intersection of perpendicular diagonal trend lines. And there's usually, when you see the priestess, it's either a notable decline or you see two peaks with a valley in between. It looks like we probably have like this notable decline into a trough at the end of the day on the 4th, or on the cusp of the 4th, 5th, and then right there towards the beginning of the day on the 5th, or on the cusp of the 4th, 5th, a really big move to the upside. This will stand out as one of the bigger moves out of the month of October, and it'll take us to what could be one of the locations of a highest high. It's possible, but it's definitely going to be a prominent peak or crest. Notable move there on the 5th to the upside, and then on the 6th, the halting of a bullish trend marked by a sharp decline through key support on a multi-day scale, taking us to a trough towards the end of the day on the 6th, out of which we have a big move to the upside, possibly pushing the upper end of a range higher on the 7th, or around the cusp of the 6th, 7th. There's a brief peak that's easily missed somewhere around the 7th, 8th, and then a decline through multiple support levels into another trough there, it looks like. Towards the end of the day on the 8th. Notable move. Oh, there's also a trade opportunity on the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th that I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Similar to the way that I discussed the trade from August. And so here at the end of the day, like, we should have a near overbought peak or crest. It might be a similar price level to where we fell from here around this like brief peak that we had around the 7th, 8th. It might be a similar price level, but it's a notable move and almost like a breakout into it. Breakout doesn't hold. There's a near overbought peak or crest that we sell off from the following day. And then a notable amount of sideways rotation from midday on the 10th after declining off of a peak or crest, and possibly a high probable location of a highest high, or a highest high thus far. There's a sideways rotation after that into the 11th, where we have a lowest low, most likely. So there's a significant amount of move here. Lowest low maybe not on the 11th, probably on the 12th. It's either on the 11th or the 12th, but I'm thinking maybe on the 12th. Yeah, so that's probably like a highest high thus far, and then we have this sharp drop When we look at the 1 year, we've got the tower card in the October low position, and we do have a cross-reading congruency for the tower card. It appears, its energy appears in correlations here around these declines. That's what these little blue downward pointing stars are. There's tower energy there, and that's the energy that we should see near the low. So we see that tower energy there, and then there's two very high probable cards for indicating a lowest low. The Ace of Discs, often it can be either a high or a low, but in a lot of cases it indicates an important bottom or important top, usually an important bottom. And then on the 12th, we have the Death card, which also in a lot of cases indicates it's a bottomy card. It indicates an important bottom. It's not necessarily a lowest low in all cases. Just similar to the Ace of Discs, it's not always a lowest low, but in a lot of cases it ends up being in appearance near a lowest low. And we have a lot of indications of a lowest low around the 11th, 12th. We might see it more than once there on the 11th, 12th. There's a peak midday on the 11th and a significant amount of movement to the downside into a low, it looks like, to a lowest low. So sideways rotation and then a peak. And there's a prominent peak and a prominent trough here on the 11th, so a lot of price change to the downside. We rally into a key resistance here on the 13th towards the end of the day, and then we break down from that key resistance with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down. Key resistance somewhere around the 13th or the cusp of the 13th, 14th, and we break down with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down, taking us to a prominent trough where we see a notable reversal and a big move to the upside on the 15th. Notable reversal on the 14th, big move to the upside on the 15th after the establishment of support. And then we have further decline and further tower energy here. These are also very bottomy cards in a lot of cases. They're not always, but again, in a lot of cases, the Ace of Cups and the Princess of Cups. And when you put them together, there's a serious decline here that offers opportunity to open up a long position. And I'll talk about the entry, what to look for on the one-day charts there as far as entry points and exit points to help kind of like pinpoint where to get in and out of that trade. I do that in the paid version. Guys, if you're interested in the paid version, by the way, it's a really great way to support the channel. The best way to, one of the best ways to support the channel. The people who subscribe to the monthlies are really the core financial support, the foundation of the channel, allowing us to put out the content that we put out. So you go to our services, SOMeta Posts, scroll to monthly subscription, and then you want to click on Ethereum, and you'll get at the end of the public version of the Ethereum video. The paid version includes the public version, but then it has an additional like 3 to 10 minutes of video of content where we discuss the best trades and what trades to avoid, and you know, entry and exit points and stuff like that. We're not right all the time, but we're pretty often doing pretty well. I mean, we're right most of the time. So with that said, it's definitely worth that little amount, and it's what supports the channel, allowing us to put out the content that helps people to make this money. If you're interested in more than one ticker, if you're interested in more than one ticker, I highly recommend getting the 30 days access to all paid monthlies. This is the most popular subscription on the channel. It gets you the paid version of all of these tickers and tickers that you're not able to subscribe to individually, like Google and Amazon come out almost every month. You can only see the paid version with the 30 days access. Thank you to all those of you that go ahead and do that. Let's get back into it. All right, so there's this notable decline here, and there's also a bunch of tower energy here, which also gives me an inclination to this being another bottom. So we probably see the bottom and then come back to the bottom again here. Another reason, the strength card was the sneak preview card from September. Also, that energy was like a move from the bottom of a range to the top of a range out of a decline is what we would want to see around this area here. And you can see we have the star card here on the 18th, which is an unexpected move to the upside. There's also a day trade here. So usually when you see a day trade opportunity, there's a lot of price change on that one day. Makes sense, right? So on the 19th, we have some sort of drop after that unexpected move higher. There's like a drop early in the day on the 19th, taking us to a prominent trough. And Then we go back to a peak or crest early in the day on the 20th. So be careful. It's like kind of like some whipsaw action there around the 19th, but another peak or crest there on the 20th, a prominent peak that'll stand out, and a key resistance level. There's also a lot of strength here, cross-reading congruency in October to the peace card. Early October peace card, making this important. It also correlates to the theme card, giving it extra importance. So it may be that we see like another high here, or like revisit a high here. Remember, it's a lot of sideways behavior here. Yeah, sideways behavior, sideways behavior, sideways behavior. But the low comes when we have a sharp drop into a low. All right, so off of that peak or crest, a decline on the 21st that increases with momentum moving forward in the day. A fast sudden move higher on the 22nd, but also a notable move to the downside. It's a mixed day on the 22nd, but look for a notable move to the downside standing out on a multi-day scale, and a fast sudden move higher. Hard to determine which one comes first, but on the 23rd we do break out to the upside, and there's another prominent peak or crest at the end of the day on the 23rd, followed by on the 24th, sideways fluctuating S, kind of mixed behavior decline, where you have a decline, an incline, and then another decline, and it goes from a resistance to a support, back to the resistance, back to the support, like within a channel. It's either horizontal channel or it's at an angle, usually a decline when it's at an angle. Looks like that decline probably picks up steam on the 25th, declining through multiple support levels, taking us to a trough on the cusp of the 25th, 26th, a trough that'll stand out, and then there's a rally off of that trough on the 26th, offering another significant trade opportunity that I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Pretty big move off of a significant trough, and probably a lower trough on the 27th early morning than there was on the 26th, but it's a really significant move standing out on a multi-day scale out of that trough. On the 28th, pretty bearish behavior, either bearish price swings or a sharp drop standing out. But then on the 29th, we have a cross-reading congruency and a strong probable location of a highest high. The Emperor card, there's an important support level that on at least like a year-to-date scale that's going to be highlighted around the 29th. 3 pokes through the same price level on the 30th. Off of that third poke, there's a sharp drop to the downside, or sharp drop, and then that decline continues into the 31st. But on the 31st, out of that decline, there's a fast sudden move higher, marking the end of the decline. Also a trade opportunity there on the 28th and the 31st, which we'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. Sneak preview for November. A notable move, like a really big move on like a year-to-date scale to the upside, reaching for a distant resistance. And by distant resistance, I mean at least more than like further than the next resistance. Usually it's a lot more than that, but it'll be like a distant resistance. So there'll be a resistance in between the resistance that we move to, at least one. And it's almost an irrational move to the upside in a lot of cases, but it does look like there's a possible high here as well. In any case, that's Ethereum for October. Make sure to follow that Rule of Karma, guys. The channel's counting on you. That's how we put out all this free content. I choose not to trade for the most part, to remain unbiased in my predictions. So, the 5% really is a way of saying thank you to the channel. And then there's the other half of that 5%, which is you do so here on the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, where we ask that you donate 5% of those profits forward to one of these charities through a click here link, and 5% of the profits back to the channel. So you're paying a little bit forward, you're paying a little bit backwards, and then that 90% left over, make sure to spend it out of love. As long as you follow those rules, that's the rule of karma for the channel. The universe will send it back to you tenfold through the channel for being an angel investor. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay tuned if you got the paid version.